The following is a production of 90 FM's Public Affairs. The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of the University of Stevens Point, the University of Wisconsin Systems, its Board of Regents, or 90 FM. It's 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday. It's time for Sports Beat right here on 90 FM. Oh, yeah, baby. Happy Wednesday. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. It's Sports Beat. I'm Alex Strofe. Huge week in sports. Huge show for you tonight. We crowned a national champion on Monday in the Virginia Cavaliers. We'll jump into that as the NCAA men's basketball tournament has come to an end. We've got drama in Green Bay as Jermichael Finley, Greg Jennings, and Aaron Rodgers are getting into a cat fight. We've got the NBA regular season coming to a closure this evening. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about in the NBA. And, of course, probably the biggest story is what we'll lead off with, and that is Magic Johnson stepping down as the president of player operations for the Los Angeles Lakers. But before we get into that, let's introduce the table. To my left, the one, the only, Malik Jackson. Hi, Malik.
Hey. What's up, everybody?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. The Stanley Cup playoffs start today.
I was going to say, Malik, tell Alex what he missed on that whole list of important things today.
The Stanley Cup playoffs start today, man. I'm super pumped. I'm super thrilled to see if they...
Wisconsin doesn't have a hockey team, so it's really, really hard for me to get interested.
And the Minnesota Wild aren't in the playoffs either.
And neither are the Blackhawks, and they're terrible. I thought the Blackhawks were always good, and they're horrible this year.
They are doing really bad this year.
Well, they're done now.
Yeah, they're out the playoffs. But I'm really intrigued to see who's going to go and try to get the throne from the Capitol. So
right, we'll end the show with our picks. I'm going to do my best. I don't want you to tell me seeds either. I'm just going to straight up pick teams.
Bet.
To my right, Mr. Jake Senholz. Hi, Jake.
Hello.
That was a loud boo this week, right in our ears.
It's they're all loud. That's it's a good week. I'm real excited to talk some sports today. I'm in a good mood. I've had a pretty good week so far, and I'm excited. Been looking forward to this all weekend. I was in Bristol, Tennessee, watching the races, and that ended up being really good.
Who won?
The actual race, the Sprint Cup race, was won by, of course, Kyle Busch.
So he's still like the biggest racer ever.
Yeah, he's got 9 wins in 15 races this year.
I don't watch NASCAR. I honestly don't even consider it a sport. However, that's impressive.
It's also different when you go there. I had never been to a race like this before, and it's pretty much like anything else. When you see it, you experience it in person, you hear it, everything, you get a lot more of an appreciation for it. But I'm still not a mega fan or anything, but I learned a lot about racing and the culture and everything, and It was cool. In the K&N series, there was a 15-year-old from Wisconsin that won. So.
Oh, no way! Neat.
Yeah.
Where in Wisconsin? Do you know?
I'm forgetting.
Okay.
But,
not super important. Anyway, we've already wasted 5 minutes, so we got to jump right into the biggest story of the week, and I can't believe. I mean, last night in the NBA was wild, and Magic Johnson wanted to steal the spotlight before the Lakers game last night, calling a just random press conference.
Exactly.
And announces that he's stepping down as the president of basketball operations, essentially the guy that recruits and signs players, essentially their GM. This came out of nowhere. And, after getting LeBron over the summer, they only win 2 more games than last year. Obviously, injuries weren't super helpful and friendly toward the Lakers this year, but they're going to finish the season 37-45 on the year. So Magic Johnson says he wants to have fun again, and he couldn't tell Jeannie Buss to her face because he didn't want her to cry. He didn't want to cry, and he didn't want to be guilted into it. So he did it publicly, rather, and now so they're GM-less essentially. So I don't even know what to take away from this. This is almost embarrassing for the Los Angeles Lakers, who were supposed to be a top franchise in the National Basketball Association. I can't believe their best player of all time would come out before Game 82, not to mention, and say, I'm out. We suck. My fault. See ya.
Well, How much is it really his fault, though? I mean, that can be debated as well. And obviously, you bring Magic Johnson in just by that name recognition and how good he is, his level of greatness. You automatically kind of think, oh, Magic Johnson's at the helm of our team. Yeah. We're going to be good. That wasn't the case. Obviously, we saw that. And you wonder what this means for the future of Magic Johnson. Probably won't see him in another position like this anywhere else.
No.
If he couldn't make it work in Los Angeles,
and
where is he going to go?
he wants to have fun again, so that means I doubt it.
He doesn't want to be in an NBA front office, and I don't blame him.
He wants to sit down and smoke a cigar with Kyrie Irving, right?
Indeed.
I don't blame him. The question that this brings up to my mind, and I figured we were going to talk about this, so not going to wait till headlines. But what does this mean for Luke Walton and the rest of that coaching staff?
They're gone.
Are they still gone? You think?
Because I think they get fired this week.
See, I was thinking
because they're done. They're 37-45 season's over.
See, I was thinking that they were going to all be fired as soon as the season ended, and then Magic Johnson was going to be left to be really the only one left in charge.
This is very similar to me, Jake. This is very similar to me, and we'll get into a little bit of this situation as well in a little bit. This is very similar to me as the Mike McCarthy situation, where before he was fired, it was a foregone conclusion that he was fired. Does that make sense? There was already headlines and articles and segments on television and radio talking about who's going to replace Mike McCarthy. And the first thing Stephen A. Smith said, he made a video on Twitter right after this was announced by Magic Johnson yesterday, that does this mean it's a foregone conclusion or is it inevitable that Ty Lue will become the head coach, right? So they're already speculating who's going to replace Luke Walton when he still has a job. So it's very similar to me in the sense of where McCarthy was with the Packers, that they're saying he's gone before he's actually gone, and it's very confusing to me.
How many times did people question Ty Lue and the job he was doing over in Cleveland, though? I don't really understand why they would bring him, besides for he's a LeBron guy. LeBron can push him around. Yeah. They won one championship together. Other than that, Ty Lue really has not really proven anything, and people were questioning his coaching abilities the entire time he was in Cleveland. So, I mean, maybe, like I said, if that's LeBron's guy, he wants him there. He has won a championship with him in the past. I guess that would make sense, but there's way better candidates. But just like if you want to compare it to the Mike McCarthy situation, you've got someone in LeBron who, just like you have in Aaron Rodgers, who's going to control the narrative, who's going to control basically everything that happens there just because of their superstardom, and you have to bring in a coach who is going to get along with your best player.
So you asked the question, where do the Lakers go from here? I'm going to repose it. Where do the Lakers go from here? Because you have LeBron James, who's essentially the best player in the world, if not top 2, top 3. I mean, obviously being hurt this season didn't help his case. But it's LeBron freaking James, right? I mean, this is a guy you want on your team. There's always been the narrative that he causes stir-ups and gets people fired. And maybe that is the case, but it's LeBron freaking James. I mean, you want this guy on your team no matter what. And now that you have him, a young core intact as well, injury issues for Lonzo Ball. He can't stay healthy, but the guy's talented. Do they go out and make a big free agent? How do you recover from a 37-win season after acquiring the best player in the world when you won 35 games the year prior without him? I mean, this is not a good look at all. Now your president is stepping down.
Does this, in your guys' mind, does this do anything for the stability of Lonzo Ball? Like, do you think that he's still going to be constantly on the trade block next year? Do you think since we've gotten through this year,
his value's
gone
down?
I
personally think, and I think you'll probably agree with me, his value has gone down.
Well, because he hasn't shown that he can stay healthy and such. But still, with Magic Johnson being there, I mean, Magic Johnson's the one that drafted him, so you would think there's some sort of protection there for Lonzo Ball because the GM that drafted him was there. Now he's gone, and basically it's up in the air for any player that's not named LeBron James.
Hey, Jake, sorry to interrupt, but there's a car going off outside. You can probably hear that faintly. That's not your car, is it?
I don't think so.
You want to go check?
Let me go peek out the window. I don't think it's mine. But
Okay,
I'll
great.
see.
Live radio, folks. Welcome to it.
Well,
I could just faintly hear a car alarm in the background. But Malik, chime
Yeah,
in.
let me chime in. Yeah, I apologize, y'all. Having some technical difficulties here with the podcast video stream, but I mean, this is a sad situation for the Lakers. You talk about one of the greatest NBA organizations that there is, if not the greatest, despite the Boston Celtics. I mean, I just feel terrible, but something is really going wrong in that front office with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. I mean, something is bigger than what it is, because you think about all of the biggest athletes in the NBA, and they speak about how you have LeBron James on your team. Magic Johnson brings in LeBron James. He thinks that this is going to bring a winning culture to a basketball team who hasn't made the playoffs in about 5 years now. They haven't made the playoffs or close to it.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, the dynasty that they are, one of the greatest dynasties.
Fallen, and I mean,
and it is
imagine
fallen.
the 30 for 30 they're going to make about this.
Yeah, and it should be one.
Now, not to say I was right here, because we always do the segment where we were right. Again, we don't have the clips this week, but I want to bring up something I said in July. Don't have the clip for it. But when I won the contest or whatever to do my appearance on ESPN in July, the question was, did LeBron make the right decision? If you remember, what I said was, he's not going to win basketball games. And after 1 year, it's that way. Although he did get hurt. That puts a little asterisk on it. But it's not looking good.
It's not.
I mean, it's really not. I mean, look at guys that they've gotten rid of since Magic Johnson got into office. D'Angelo Russell was a Laker. He shipped them out. Julius Randle, who's now in New Orleans, playing a big role down there for the Pelicans. He was a Laker.
And both
and that
those
doesn't
names.
mean that doesn't mean Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball aren't solid players. But look what those guys are doing off the Lakers now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Listen to those two names that you just said, and then look at the seasons that they had.
Right. It's quite embarrassing.
I mean, but still think about this. I mean, yeah, it's looking really shaky right now. You know, it's not looking that well just because Magic Johnson stepped down. But I mean, this might be a new avenue for this Lakers team. You know, I mean, having Magic Johnson for 2 seasons, he wasn't successful. I mean, he went out, he acquired talented veteran players such as Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, and these aren't shooters.
Washed up, though. I mean,
Yeah,
Rajon Rondo
yeah.
was still solid last year. He led the league in assists, if I'm not mistaken, or per game, maybe.
Well, up there,
Lance
yeah.
hasn't done anything in years. JaVale McGee was good about 5 years ago. I mean, he played a very little role on Golden State.
True.
The acquisitions he made were very blown up and overrated.
True.
And that's why I didn't see them winning. I thought they were going to make the playoffs. I absolutely did. I thought maybe they'd be an 8 or 7 seed, even as high as maybe a 5 seed.
And like you attested to, I mean, definitely having the injury of LeBron James, they were the 4th seed. I mean, I say if he stays healthy and he doesn't have a growing injury, a serious growing injury for LeBron James, who never gets injured ever in his career or miss multiple games due to injuries, I mean, I think that they would be good. They have LeBron James. Like, the Lakers' future is still pretty valid. I'm not gonna say that.
The Lakers' future is also going into a 17th season next year. I mean, this was year 16.
That's
and
true.
The first crucial injury he's ever had, as you mentioned, Malik.
That's true.
And
Nothing's a given anymore when it comes to LeBron's health. He's getting older.
Yep.
And that's when your body starts breaking down more.
And we've already seen it throughout his entire career. LeBron needs a supporting cast, at least one other person.
Yep.
He has made it to the championship when it's just himself, but he has never won the championship by himself.
He needed Kyrie
he had
to hit
Kyrie
the big
at his
shots.
side.
Dwayne
He
Wade
had
and Chris
Bosh, and he had Ray Allen to save his butt in
Mike
Game
Miller
6 and hit
too.
that, and all these guys. So
Shane Battier.
you can't, like you just said, Alex, 17 years. So you can't just be like, oh, you've got LeBron James, you're fine. You have to get someone else in there too, which is part of what we're talking about here. It's part of the culture being built in Los Angeles right now. If you can't even get Magic Johnson to stick around and want to be there after 2 seasons, how are you supposed to get somebody to come in and want to play with LeBron James, especially if they have to do something like take a pay cut? And that's not really an issue right now because they have room for another Supermax deal. However, if you try and bring in a second or third player on top of that, it was reported this week. I don't know if it was Woj or who it was, but names like names like Kawhi Leonard, names like Anthony Davis, all these big potential superstars, even Jimmy Butler, I think, was on that list, all said that Los Angeles is their second or third option.
Yeah.
None of them said that that's where they want to be in the first
Well,
place.
look at this past summer, right? Before they gained LeBron, the Lakers. It was Paul George. It was Kawhi Leonard. It was, maybe we'll get Anthony Davis in a trade.
Yep.
Paul George decided to stay in Oklahoma City. Kawhi Leonard got shipped to Toronto, and now I think he'll end up staying there personally, just like Paul George did in Oklahoma City. You look at guys like Anthony Davis, who obviously wanted to go there, but he wears a "That's All Folks" shirt.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's going to Boston. I mean, I think that's almost a given as well.
And then sorry.
Well, sorry, no, go ahead. Because I was going to change the subject slightly.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say. I mean, don't forget about the New York Knicks too. They have what they're going to probably get one of the first round, but they're going to get a lottery
Possibly
pick.
Zion.
You know what I mean? And they still have so much money going into free agency as well.
Too early prediction. Do the Lakers sign an All-Star or acquire an All-Star in some facet this summer?
I think so. Yeah, just because
Want
of
to
LeBron.
throw out a name?
I mean,
Klay Thompson,
I
Jimmy
think-
Butler, Kyrie Irving.
I think Klay Thompson stay. I don't think he's leaving the Warriors.
I don't either.
I don't think he's going to either. He's
Kevin
never
Durant?
shown any interest or indication.
Maybe Kevin Durant, but I think
No way.
Kevin will go
No
to the
way.
Knicks.
No way.
If anything,
There's no way LeBron and
I
Kevin
think-
Durant team
I
up.
think
That'd be
LeBron-
wild, though.
it would.
I think LeBron brings somebody into his camp and they will be an all-star, but are they a top 5 player in the league all-star? Probably not. I mean, these guys are now looking to spread
But
themselves out.
do you look at Kyrie Irving? Obviously they were a team out in Cleveland. They won a championship together. Now the rumor has it, that could be a thing. But New York is also on the table for Kyrie.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't think that. I mean, Kyrie has come around. We've seen him talk about in public about how he was the one that was wrong. He misread everything LeBron was trying to do for him. And after this whole, I guess you could call it a fiasco with Boston, maybe he would be willing to go back and place himself in LeBron's shadow again. And maybe he wouldn't even be in the shadow this time because they're not in LeBron's hometown. LeBron is not 30 years old anymore, 31 years old. Like, he's going to be aging, so Kyrie is going to have an even bigger part to play. But again, I just think Kyrie likes to have the ball, he likes to score, he likes to be the main guy. And I think that's one of the reasons that he's not going to stick in Boston. There's just too much going on in Boston. There's too many names, there's too many good players there. So I would see Kyrie possibly, going to the Knicks, maybe trying to build something there. A name that's interesting to me is a Kyrie-like player. Kemba Walker is going to be a free agent.
Oh,
this year.
yes.
Kemba Walker
That
and
is-
LeBron James would be
That is a possibility.
fantastic
No,
matchup.
that's a
good-
big
that's-
possibility.
that's a good one,
I
Jake.
could definitely see Kemba Walker going to the Lakers and getting on a decent team, and then he can actually really help out LeBron. And when Lonzo comes back and you think about Kyle Kuzma, I see a lot of growth in this Lakers team. I'm not just going to write him off. You still have LeBron James, like you said. He is arguably the number 1 or second best player in the league still, and he still has a lot in him. I mean, we'll see. It'll be tough.
We'll get to NBA playoff talk on the other side. We've also got some Green Bay Packers headlines to dive into. We're going to take our first time out. This is Sports Beat.
Want to
Yeah,
just
one
throw
thing.
real quick. Sam Mayer was the kid that won the race. He's from Franklin, Wisconsin.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for the update.
15 years old.
Wow,
So he doesn't even have
15?
his driver's license yet?
No,
15?
they asked him, and he laughed. He's like, I just got my learner's permit, if that counts. And he won
Gosh.
in Bristol,
Is
Tennessee.
that legal?
15?
Yeah, because it's on a racetrack. It's different.
How many laps?
He's not out and about. It was the KNN series was, I believe, 200 laps. And then the Xfinity Series went 300, and then the Cup Series goes 500.
Well, congratulations to Sam from Franklin. We're proud of you. We're proud of you.
Yeah,
Keep an eye on him.
congratulations.
He dominated. He
Congratulations.
led 147 out of.
Is he the
of
next
of
Kyle
the
Busch?
laps. Possibly, man.
All right, I like it.
Or Jimmy Johnson. He's the GOAT, so, yeah.
Niles Barkley, crazy 90 FM is Sports Beat.
When I lost my mind, there was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Niles Barkley, crazy Sports Beat 90 FM. Strofe, Senholz, Jackson hanging out with you. Let's lead off with a little football talk. Let's move to 1265 Lombardi Avenue in Green Bay, Wisconsin. As last Thursday, Tyler Dunne. What's so funny?
This guy just knew it all. But okay, go ahead.
Tyler, Theatrical Lambeau Field.
I know,
man.
it's so sweet
I'm
how you
from
knew
Green
that.
Bay, ladies. I'm a Green Bay kid, so I mean.
You can see the hat too, guys.
Yeah, if you're watching the video pod in a few days. Anyway, Tyler Dunne of Bleacher Report magazine, put out an article last week. Super well written, super well constructed. However, it was a how did Rogers phrase it? A slight attack or
outright lies.
Yeah, he said that. Ryan Grant, former Packers running back, quoted as saying, "Aaron's always had a chip on his shoulder with Mike. The guy who ended up becoming your coach passed on you when he had a chance. Aaron was upset that Mike passed on him. That Mike actually verbally said that Alex Smith was a better quarterback than him." Obviously, 2005 NFL Draft, Alex Smith was selected number 1 overall to the San Francisco 49ers, where Mike McCarthy coached before he coached the Green Bay Packers. So Aaron Rodgers apparently didn't like that. However, Ryan Grant came out earlier this week, and I think it was Sunday or Monday, and said it wasn't an attack on Aaron, it's just a fact. Greg Jennings, Jermichael Finley, former wide receiver and tight end for the Packers, both on that Super Bowl team in 2010-11, were both quoted basically crapping on Rodgers. Essentially, calling him a bad leader. And Rodgers responded earlier this week on a radio station out of Milwaukee with former Packer Mark Tauscher, and essentially just said, when was I a bad leader? Was it when I was visiting Jermichael Finley in the hospital the night he broke his neck and couldn't play football anymore? Was it the Saturday nights that we'd go to over reads and checkdowns in the hotel or at his house before a game to see where he'd be the top target? When was I a bad leader? And then Greg Jennings went on The Herd yesterday. I watched every second of this interview live.
I did too.
Greg Jennings goes on The Herd with Colin Cowherd on Fox Sports Radio and says, watching or listening rather to Rodgers' rebuttal, yeah, he made good points about Jermichael. If I was Jermichael, I'd go back and maybe say, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Now, for me, he just said there's nothing to say because there is nothing to say. Everything I said was true, and I don't take any of it back. So Greg Jennings, who since he's been out of the league in, I believe, 2015-ish, has been...
He's had some opinions.
He's had some opinions relating to Rodgers, and Packers fans have not grown too comfortable with Greg Jennings, the former Packer receiver, who was great. I mean, he was a great receiver for the Packers.
He caught.
Who was definitely.
He caught Favre's 500 touchdown.
Yep. 7 years, 2006 to 2012.
He had a couple big plays in that playoff run when y'all did win the championship as well, with a Super Bowl.
Oh, he was our best receiver.
Definitely.
Unless you want to argue Donald Driver was.
No, I'd argue Greg Jennings would be.
Yeah,
or Jordy Nelson was the Super Bowl year, but Jennings was probably number 2, or he was still the number 1 guy. But
right, number
Nelson
1 guy, number 1 option. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are quoted in this, anonymous sources, which Rodgers did not appreciate. And it really broke down. However, Rodgers chiming in on the whole fight with McCarthy, if you will, saying, let's thank McCarthy for what he did here. I mean, I love Mike McCarthy. He was quoted as saying that, and that we should thank him. If you see him, I mean, he lives in Green Bay. His kids go to school in Green Bay. If you see him out in public, shake his hand and thank him. And he's the second greatest coach we've ever had in Green Bay, and the greatest in the last 70 years. So Rodgers really, really not liking this Tyler Dunne article in Bleacher Report. If you haven't read it yet, go do that. I mean, it's a great read. Makes you think. I mean, I personally think there's a lot of BS in the article, but.
And am I wrong? Is Tyler Dunne a Wisconsin guy? Does he? Yeah. So it's not like this is some random guy from a random part, like trying to write up this article to cause controversy and get clicks. Like, this is a guy who's grown up in and around Wisconsin, around the Packers organization. And obviously he's going to stand by his work. I mean, he worked for Bleacher Report. He's no schmuck.
Yeah, so. He worked for the Journal Sentinel Milwaukee. Now he's in Bleacher Report. He lives in Buffalo, but because he works for the Buffalo News or worked for the Buffalo News before going to Bleacher Report. But yeah, his first job was in Milwaukee at the Journal Sentinel. So I mean, it's not like he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
His tweets, his first tweet on April 4th, which is on Thursday. He tweeted just, what happened in Green Bay? A checked-out coach, a tuned-out quarterback, the dynasty that never was. New at Bleacher Report. 1,000 retweets, 3,500 likes, 600 replies. Want to read some?
Wow. Some of the best ones. Sure, let's hear them.
Sure, I'm just going to read the top ones. Very, very surprised to see Greg Jennings quoted in another negative article about Rodgers and the Packers. Shocked.
You shouldn't be shocked.
Well, I think that
a
was
lot
the
of them
point.
are just compliments.
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Well, the other thing is, too, it's like this is happening after so long. McCarthy was there for so
He got
long.
fired in December. I mean, this is 5 months after the fact.
Well, what I mean, though, is the fact that
He was there for 12 years and nobody said anything about it.
Right, exactly. And how does all of this happen for so long and still stay
get
somewhat
swept under the rug?
contained? Yeah, and still able to win 10-plus football games a year and still able to put on this fake front and everything, but then finally it's all coming out. I mean,
I think
it
it's just
seems
people trying to stir up something that was not as big as it's being made out to be. Ty Dunne is obviously doing his job by reporting it without a whole lot of bias involved or a whole lot of editorial changes that make it sound much worse than it is, where obviously a lot of former players have also come out in support of Rodgers and McCarthy and saying the relationship is fine. So I don't know. It's a really, 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 really interesting scenario.
The great Jeff Saturday came out and said that he was in a huddle one time and he saw that Mike McCarthy, he did a play call to Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers rolled his eyes. And I mean, it's some type of scrutiny between both of those, the player and the coach. But it's
one of the first things in this article. It's the third paragraph. So essentially, Tyler Dunne, I'll quote it here. There had to be a breaking point, an incident, an argument, a loss, a moment that doomed the football marriage of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Anyone could see the Packers quarterback and head coach were headed for divorce well before the inconceivable 20-17 loss to the lowly Cardinals in December, the one that finally got McCarthy fired. Death stares and defiance from Rodgers had been constant for years by then. But how far back do you have to go to find the beginning of the end? Was it week 3 of the 2017 seasons when cameras caught Rodgers barking, "Stupid effing call" at his coach? And then he goes on to say it goes all the way back to 2006 when these two were married, essentially, when McCarthy became the head coach and Rodgers was the backup quarterback.
And Rodgers has always played with a chip on his shoulder, larger than maybe needed to be. I mean, if you look, say, Sunday football, Monday Night Football, or whatever, when the starting offensive lineup pops up across the screen, he said he went to whatever community college instead of Cal.
Butte.
Butte Community College, because he prides himself, and that's who he is. And maybe it's not even priding himself, but he emphasizes that I have been doubted my whole career, and I know that I'm good. I've always known that I'm fantastic, and all of you people doubt me, and anyone who has ever doubted me, I'm mad at you for it, and I'm not going to forgive you for it. And if everything that is being said in this article is true, that's how he felt about Mike McCarthy. Instead of forgiving him and saying, let's start this whole new relationship, obviously I'm better than Alex Smith. Obviously we're going to work together now, and we're going to do something great. No, he held a grudge for 15-plus years. It was like, well, if you're going all the way back to the time he was drafted, I'm saying.
About 13, 14 years.
Yeah. So you have a guy who refuses to, I guess, get out of his own way, and it wastes, like Tyler said in the article, the dynasty that should have been or was never ended up happening, however he worded that, because Rodgers won a Super Bowl in his 3rd year, and then they could never figure it out again after that.
I'm sorry.
Beautifully said.
For me, I just look at Aaron Rodgers, and I've always said it every time we're on this show. I've never seen anybody have the type of ball placement such as Aaron Rodgers. He has the best ball placement that I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. And for him to be the leader of this Green Bay Packers team, and like I always say, you all are the pioneers of a championship breed here in Wisconsin. The Packers are Wisconsin. This is all you guys eat, sleep, and it's Packers, on Sunday. So it's like for Aaron Rodgers, he needs to maybe take heed to this, because it's a lot of people coming out that says that he's not a great leader, and he's a phenomenal quarterback. But to be a great person, you don't hear a lot of other quarterbacks coming out and people saying that they are bad leaders as a team. I mean, you got Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all of these great quarterbacks, and Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. He has the accolades to account for that, and he has highlights to account for that. But him being a leader, that's something that he has to improve on in order for this Packers team to move forward and be successful for the future references.
Two quotes from Aaron Rodgers today, just briefly. When asked about new head coach Matt LaFleur, his offseason workouts are underway, he said, and quote, "There isn't a grace period. We have a veteran quarterback, a veteran line, a veteran receiver. Being in Green Bay, the expectation is to win championships." Another quote, he is obviously a part owner of the Bucks, is Aaron Rodgers, the winningest team in the NBA regular season this year. With the Bucks playing well, the Brewers obviously starting hot and having a good season last year. I think it's about time the Packers picked it up. So obviously the expectation is to win. That is what is being instilled in the first week or so of Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Do you guys think Packers have a serious chance at a turnaround and maybe even a division title.
I don't think they're going to win the division title, but last thought on the previous thing, it's just amazing to me how greatness for so long, it can blind people, it can fix things, it can cover up so many issues. I mean, for the longest time in Wisconsin, Aaron Rodgers was literally a god. He could do no wrong. There was nothing. Nobody ever questioned him. Right.
That's true.
But there was none of this going on. Nothing. None of it, because he was so great. Now in these last few years, everything's just starting to unravel, and it's just kind of crazy to me how someone can your view on someone in a situation like this can just go from point A to point B in seemingly not that long. So that was just my last thought on that. But as far as the turnaround, I've been saying it for a long time. I don't think the Packers are going to make the playoffs this year. I don't for sure don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're even going to win the playoffs. I think the NFC make the playoffs. I think the NFC is only getting better, and barring a fantastic draft and everybody coming back and playing way better than they did last year and up to their potential, maybe they squeak in to a low seed, to a wild card. But it's like,
who's winning the division?
The Bears. I mean, in my mind, the Bears. I don't think that's what I'm saying. I think maybe you can find a way to beat the Vikings.
Can I throw a little stat at you and see? I'm going to throw a little stat at you and see if that changes anything for you. It's just that. It's a stat, and that doesn't mean it's going to happen. But for the last 3 years, 3 of the 4 NFC division champions from the year prior did not win their division. It's been 3 of the 4 the last 3 years.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I don't think anybody expected the Bears to do it last year. So
no,
I don't know. I just think.
And it was the Vikings the year prior. The Packers didn't make the playoffs that year.
Right. So I think that the Packers are going to be fine, obviously, against the Lions. I think they might split or win both games against the Vikings, but I just think the Bears are a great team, and I think there's a lot of other great teams in the
Bears have only
NFC
downgraded, in my opinion, so far. I mean, obviously, they can go out and get some good draft picks. The Bears have always been pretty solid at drafting, and they have a really good front office. I just don't see the Bears winning again. I really don't. I think the Vikings have a shot. I think the Packers have a shot. I mean, the Bears obviously still have a shot. I just don't think they will.
When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, you always have a shot. The same one we just talked about in the last segment with LeBron James. When you have these great players in their respective sports, you're always going to have a chance. But like you said, Jake, I mean, the NFC is getting better and better. It's going to be really tough to see if the Packers can even make a wild card spot, because you have the Falcons that are going to be back. You know, the Saints are going to be good. The Panthers are always
the Rams.
The 49ers are going to be back with Jimmy G. So it's a lot of great teams.
They made moves too. The 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers. I think. I mean, they should have made the playoffs with the healthy Jimmy G. They could have made a wild card spot last year.
He wasn't playing too great, though. He was not playing too
great.
No,
he wasn't, but he also only played, 5
he
games,
only played a few
something
games,
like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were in games and winning games with Nick Mullins.
That's true.
It's accurate. They competed with the Packers
with
Nick Mullins.
They now have the best tight end in all of football. And they're always good at drafting. They have a young coach who's going to be there for a long time, and they're just looking up. So
then you got the Eagles and the oh my goodness, the Eagles and the Cowboys as well.
I'm gonna say one team out of the NFC East, 2 teams out of the NFC South, 2 teams out of the NFC West, 1 team out of the NFC North. That sound right?
Yeah. Unless the Vikings and the Bears do it the same thing they did last year.
I think the NFC North is going to beat up on each other like they always typically do. And obviously, they're not going to be
Lions
a significant
will get a crucial
player.
win when they need to.
And Matthew Stafford goes off one game.
I don't think the Raiders are going to be a significant player, but that's a team that could steal a game or 2 from other teams in the NFC as well. So you put all these things together, and the Packers might struggle to win 8 or 9 games.
The Raiders are in the AFC, but obviously every team in the AFC plays 4 games against 4 or 5 games against an NFC team.
Yeah,
so that's what you mean, I assume?
Yeah, we were talking about teams out west, the Niners and Rams and all these guys. So I threw Oakland in there as well, but it's just like there's these teams that are up and coming is basically what I'm trying to say. They're making moves. They're getting better. So teams that aren't necessarily that much better compared to last year, which I would put the Packers in that category, I just don't see how they jump up into the playoffs.
Draft's only a few weeks, not years, few weeks away. So that's exciting. We'll have some. We'll take the entire hour up for that essentially in a few weeks. So any last thoughts on this whole Green Bay story? Do you think it kind of just goes away, dissolves, or do you think it's something will resurface if Greg Jennings or Jermichael Finley tweeted a picture of him and A-Rod last night and said, "Love you, brother," and he just got pooped on for that on Twitter.
I think that it will inevitably come back when training camp comes around or
Okay.
early season. I think it's inevitably going to come back and be talked about. However, if the Packers can put it behind them, if Rodgers doesn't continue to talk about it and stuff like that, they are going to move on from it, especially if they start winning games. Because here's the thing. There's going to be all new storylines. Once the new season starts, whether they're winning all the time or losing all the time, no one is going to care what happened anymore with McCarthy and Rodgers. They're going to care about what's happening now and about LaFleur and Rodgers. So I think that this gets brought up once, maybe once more, but that's it.
If LaFleur can instill a winning nature early in the regular season, I think this is gone forever. I mean, if this team can make
and
the
why
playoffs.
why shouldn't it be? I mean, these are all quotes from players who haven't been with the organization for a long time. It's about a coach who's not there anymore. The only person that's relevant anymore would be Aaron Rodgers. And if you've got a happy Aaron Rodgers winning football games, again, this all becomes irrelevant.
Exactly, and so it's going to be irrelevant to the fans of Green Bay as well. It's like whenever you're winning games, everybody's happy. Whenever you're losing games, it's the finger starts to point.
You just hope, too, that this article or controversy like this, it doesn't creep in to the minds of the many young players that the Packers have. I mean, a lot of them don't really have a ton of experience with Aaron Rodgers.
True.
And maybe they don't have – I'm sure they have a developed opinion on him, but it's like, all these great guys, all these guys that were here for 7, 8, 10 years, they're saying these negative things about Rodgers. Like, what happens if he starts to turn on me? Or what happens 5 years down the road? Like, how's he going to be, So you can get those thoughts and those doubts in the mind of – I mean, the Packers – how many Packers players are under 25 years old? A lot of them.
It's a lot.
So –
but when you have Aaron Rodgers, it's always a shot, man, and he's the best ball placement thrower that I've ever seen. So there you go.
Fingers crossed for Packers success in 2019. We'll get to that more in the coming months, obviously, as the season grows closer. We're going to take our final timeout right here on Sports Beat, and you know what we're going to do on the other end, boys? We're going to do our top 5 threats to the Bucs in the Eastern Conference. So we'll talk about that a little bit over the break. Here is Kanye West. Well, good life in the 90 FM stew. 2 days till trivia. Sports Beat. Kanye West, it's 90 FM, it's Sports Beat, Alex Strofe, Malik Jackson, Jake Senholz.
Yo.
How's everybody?
Great. The Lightning are beating the Blue Jackets right now, just so everybody knows, in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, speaking of first round, let's dive into our top 5 threats to the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference. I'll start with number 5.
Number 5.
I'll go with the team they play in the first round. It's up in the air right now. I think it'll be Detroit. So I'm going to go with Detroit. They play the Knicks tonight. They win. They clinch their spot. If the Knicks lose, or if the Knicks beat Detroit and Charlotte, I believe they play Orlando. Charlotte's at home playing Orlando. Charlotte would get that 8 seed. I think they both win, but I think Detroit stays in the 8 seed. So I'm going to go number 5, Detroit Pistons. Jake or Malik, who wants to do number 4?
I got it.
Number 4.
Number 4 threat to the Milwaukee Bucks, because obviously I think we know what the top 3 are going to be. So with the remaining teams, I think the best one is, for the first time in a long time, the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes,
I mean,
I agree 1,000%.
Totally agree.
They've got a
Totally
good team,
agree.
man. They're making the playoffs for the first time since that Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett trade way back in 2013. You've got a guy in D'Angelo Russell who's just balling out.
And they will see the Sixers in the first round. Depending on how they do tonight, they play Miami at home. Miami's eliminated from the playoffs, but it's Dwayne Wade's final game. I'm going to imagine Brooklyn's probably going to win because they're going to want to secure that 6th spot.
Right.
You'd probably rather play Philadelphia than Toronto, right?
Yes.
Brooklyn?
Yes,
definitely.
for sure. And Brooklyn and the Magic are currently tied right now 41 and 40 in the win-loss column. So, And Detroit is 40 and 41. So, 6 and 7 seed could flop around, which obviously would change who the Nets are going to face.
Yeah, Detroit could still move up to the 6th seed. So that's pretty whack. But all right, Malik, take number 3 for us.
Okay.
Number 3.
I am going to go with the 76ers as the number 3 seed. I think that they are, like you said, Jake, on the break, they thrashed them, multiple times this season? Or the last game specifically. You had Giannis have 5 blocks on Joel Embiid. That's pretty impressive. And what did he score? Like 40 points that game, too?
And he was making it look easy. It looked like the 76ers just wanted to quit. Like they were just Giannis would get the ball, headed down the lane, and they were all just looking at him.
That would be an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. So, Jake, I'm going to let you do number 2. Also would be, I imagine, is what you're going to say, an Eastern Conference Finals matchup if it happens.
Number 2.
I'm guessing that in your mind, in my mind, it's the Toronto Raptors.
I'm with you.
I'm with you on that.
And I also think for Toronto, this is a huge season for them, postseason for them in attempting to keep Kawhi Leonard. If they come
need
out
to succeed.
Yes, if they come out and stumble out of the gate or have a hard time in the first series, even if they win it and they come out and lose in the second series, I'm not convinced by any stretch of the imagination that unless this team makes an actual push for the NBA Finals, I'm not convinced that Kawhi is going to be there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Let me say one thing. If the Brooklyn Nets go and fall to the 7th seed, that would be an interesting 7-game series between Toronto and the Nets. Because D'Angelo Russell has been so good this year, so good. And I think that they'll give him a good test. But like you said, it's really important for them to be successful to keep Kawhi Leonard.
I have Mike number 1, and I clicked the button, so I'm going to take number 1. But before I do that, somebody pull up an NHL bracket. I'm making my picks, folks, because I have no idea what I'm about to talk about, and it might be entertaining for all of you paying attention at home. But here's number 1, the number 1 threat to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference.
Number 1.
We're all in agreement on this. We talked about it over the last break. It's who they'd see in the second round of the playoffs, and most likely will, as Indiana's in the 5 seed without Victor Oladipo. Miles Turner is still a very, very good player, though. The Boston Celtics, who they lost to in 7 games in the first round last year when Boston was the 1 seed, Milwaukee was the 8 seed. Boston was without Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving in that series. That's when Scary Terry Rozier made his name. Again, this year, I think they're the biggest threat and probably the favorite, even in the 4 seed, to win the Eastern Conference. Guys?
They've been viewing themselves like the Golden State Warriors, too, where it's like, we don't need to be at our absolute best during the regular season. If we reach our best and we reach our potential, when it gets to the postseason, we can beat anybody. We can play with anybody. And I honestly do believe that the Celtics have the ability, just because look at their roster, look at their coach, look at the success that they've had. It hasn't been the best season for them overall. They were arguably a better team, quote unquote, going into the playoffs last year. But I don't see how you can count them out by any stretch of the imagination.
Definitely not. When you have Kyrie Irving on your team, he has NBA championship, obviously. He made one of the clutchest shots that we've ever seen in an NBA Finals. And then you have Scary Terry, and then you have Jason Tatum. You have Brad Stevens as your head coach. The Celtics are probably the deepest team and also the most experienced team, also having Al Horford as their center. So they're going to be the biggest probably threat to the Bucks. But like I said, if Giannis Antetokounmpo comes out and plays like he's played all year as an MVP caliber player, I don't see anybody stopping this Milwaukee Bucks team in the East.
A lot of playoff talk coming your way next week as the NBA playoffs will be just getting underway. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I cannot
love
wait.
the NBA playoffs as we didn't even mention it. We just mentioned it at the top. Virginia won the national championship in the NCAA
Congratulations.
on Monday. Jack Bennett, his father, was a coach here at UW Stevens Point, is where he got his start. And then took Wisconsin to the Final Four, where Tony was a student assistant, eventually got the Virginia job. Finally broke through, the greatest probably redemption story in sports history.
Definitely.
As Virginia, who was the number 1 overall seed in last year's NCAA tournament, became the first team ever as a 1 seed to lose the 16th seed in the first round.
Yep. UMBC.
Very following year. Yes, University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Ramblers.
Yes, the Retrievers. The Retrievers.
Ramblers.
Loyola was the Ramblers.
I thought it was
the Retrievers.
I promise.
Retrievers?
Shout out to my boy Zach Seidel, who is the social media guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember seeing a dog all over the place with the yellow UMBC letters.
It's the Retrievers.
Okay.
Anyway, we got 9 minutes left. Let's dive in and let's do I Don't Know Hockey, brought to you by Alex Strofe. All right, give it to me. I'm going to make my picks in the NHL playoffs, which get underway tonight. Give me the series.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go Western Conference first, then the East.
Okay.
Okay, so in the Western Conference, the number 1 overall seed.
No, don't tell me the seeds. I don't want to know the seeds.
Okay, so we have the Calgary Flames against the Colorado Avalanche. Who you got to win the series?
Give me the Flames in 5.
Okay.
Wait, how many games is in the first round? 7?
It's 7.
It's all 7.
Every series. Next, we have the San Jose Sharks. They're going up against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Give me the Knights in 7.
Okay. Next, we have the Preds going up against the Dallas Stars.
Preds in 6.
Okay.
How am I doing so far? You think I'm doing all right?
It's okay, yeah. The Winnipeg Jets going up against the St. Louis Blues.
I don't know anything about hockey, folks. Let's keep that in mind. Give me the Jets in 5.
The Jets in 5. Wow. The Eastern Conference.
Oh, no, the Blues. I'm sorry. St. Louis, the good team. They're usually good, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you going with the Blues?
Can you give me the seeds for that one?
Okay, it's 2-3.
Yeah,
the Jets are 2, and then
the Jets are a real good team.
The Jets are really good.
So Jets in 5 was a good pick.
Not in 5, but
Jets in 5.
okay. And on to the Eastern Conference, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning going up against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
This team I've heard about a lot, so I'm going to go Lightning in 5.
Okay, there you go.
Little fun fact, the Columbus Blue Jackets are the only team in NHL history to never win a playoff series. And I don't think that...
That's not ending this year.
No, I don't think that's going to end this year. So.
Fun. I like
That's
that
not
fun fact. Thank you for that, Jake.
I like that too, Jake. That's pretty impressive, of course. Jake the Snake. Now we have the Boston Bruins going up the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Give me the Leaves in 7.
Okay, that's an interesting pick right there. And then we have the Washington Capitals going up against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Give me the Caps in 6.
Okay. And last but not least,
I wanted to piss you off, but I decided not to.
Last but not least, we have the New York Islanders going up against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Pens in 7. Jake, I'm not going to make you mad either.
All right, Pens in 7.
That's going to be a fantastic series.
Give me the Lightning. Give me a
For
team.
the Eastern Conference Finals, it would be who? You said
So
you
what
said the
team's
Lightning, you said the Maple Leafs, so they would play in the second round, and then you said the Caps and the Penguins, and they would play in the second round. Over on the Western Conference,
Give me the Lightning over the Pens.
Lightning over the Leafs?
Lightning over the Caps in the Eastern Conference Finals. I want the Lightning in the championship.
Okay, and in the Western Conference, you picked the Flames against Vegas, and then you said the Predators against the Jets, right? In 5. So
Give me the Jets over the Knights in the Western Conference Finals. So I'll go Jets and Lightning in the finals.
And the Stanley Cup Final, and who wins?
Give me the Lightning. I've heard so much about them this year.
And everybody else is picking the Lightning too to win. So
okay, so that's a safe pick.
yeah,
That's the only team I've heard anything about this year. So
That's what I wanted to propose to you tonight, Malik, was if I gave you the Lightning or the Calgary Flames, so the 2 top point getters in each division, in each conference, would you take those 2 teams or the field? So if you get to bet,
okay, in a championship matchup, I took the field, right? So I took the field.
well, I'm saying to win. So each
Then I'm not taking
each of the top team from the Western and Eastern Conference. So each one of the top teams or the field. Who would you take
to win
the
it
bet
all,
on?
right?
To win it all.
I'll take. Yeah,
definitely the field, probably.
See, I think I would take the field too because I have a real good feeling about the Sharks this year. My Penguins always have a shot. The Caps have a shot at defending, but the Lightning scored 120. They earned 128 points this year. As far as if you don't know how hockey works, it's not based off win-loss. It's based off points, and you can earn points by different ways during the games. Shutouts is extra points, overtime wins. It's all broken down.
Yep.
So anyway, that's how they rank the teams. The Lightning finished the season with 128 points. The next closest team was the Calgary Flames with 107.
Oh boy.
It is really, really, really hard to earn 21 more points than any other team in the NHL. That's incredible.
They tied the Edmonton Oilers, I believe, with the 61 wins, right?
Yes. And 128
Wayne
points.
Gretzky.
128 points is near to the most all time. I think
when my Oilers were real good.
There's been a couple teams that have broken into the 130 mark, but 128 is right up there with the all-time record.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Who's
Okay,
winning it all?
yeah, I was about to say
who's winning it all?
Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals, and then the Stanley Cup picks.
The finals already
in the West. Yeah, who do you got?
Let's see. My Western Conference Finals, I think I have the Sharks and I don't even know. Sharks Jets, is that a possibility? I'm not looking at the bracket.
I picked Sharks. I picked Calgary and the Preds, but respect.
Okay.
I mean that's a shot though. The Jets can make.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, it's a pick. Yep.
Within the. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Let
me see your phone.
Yeah,
okay. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Then I have the Sharks and the Jets And then on the other side, I've got the Lightning, and I got to do it, the Pens.
Okay.
And then in the finals, I've got the Lightning over the Sharks, and I'm not making that pick yet.
Okay. Well, I would have to say...
We've got till June. We've got till mid-June.
You just said Lightning over the Sharks. I'm just going to throw that. You literally just said Lightning over Sharks. I'm just saying. You did just say that.
Everybody's going...
You just said, I've got Lightning over Sharks, but I'm not making that part.
I've got the Lightning and the Sharks.
He said Lightning over, so I'm just going to call it a pick.
The Sharks are so deep, just like the Lightning. They have so many good defensemen, so you can't go wrong. I mean, you can't go wrong with them. But I think that the Calgary Flames make it to the Stanley Cup this year, and I think that they're going to go up against probably the Predators just because the Preds have so much experience, and they've been here before. In the Eastern Conference, like everybody is saying, I'm actually going with the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't know what that means.
And the Washington Capitals in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Risky
the Maple Leafs
Mr.
versus the Capitals in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Caps go back, and then they play.
Malik Jackson's bias.
No bias here. They go back and they play the Preds in the Stanley Cup, and they beat them.
Oh, so you're picking the Caps for the second year straight.
And 6 games.
Oh, yeah.
In 6 games.
No bias at all.
It's no bias.
Jake, we've got 2 minutes. You got any headlines you want to quickly touch on? That you have? We didn't get the sports beat headlines this week.
Yeah, we don't have time for Masters predictions. You can check my Twitter if you want to see mine. Let's talk about Giannis saying no to Space Jam real quick. What do you guys think of that?
I'm good with it. I wouldn't want the distractions either. I like what he said. He said he wants to be him. He doesn't want all the lights, cameras, and action. I like it.
And that's why I love Giannis. Just as a player and as an individual, he gives back so much to the Milwaukee community. And for him to come out just like Damian Lillard, like I said in the last couple Sports Beat shows ago, like it just shows how great he is to stay in Milwaukee, wanting to bring a championship to the city. He's just a stellar player and an awesome individual.
I'm fine with it too, but I do think it's somewhat disappointing. You have a chance to see your all-star, one of your favorite players, on the big screen, even for a short time. It would have been really cool. And in my mind too, it's like if it was a week of filming, you could treat it like a vacation. I mean, he goes other places on vacation for a week, so why not? However, I have absolutely no actual problem with it. Just kind of wish he would have done it.
Yeah,
just for the fun of it.
LeBron said that he was going to build an actual like full court on the set, like Michael Jordan did, so he can practice and keep himself in shape. So we should see, and I'm very intrigued to see how the Space Jam is going to look. Just because, but between these two, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Obviously, LeBron fits more so the character.
If it was an original thing, maybe guys would be easy to jump on, right? Like Barkley was in the original one, if I'm not mistaken, and other guys.
Oh,
Muggsy Bogues,
Patrick Ewing, Muggsy Bogues. They had Bogues. Excuse me. They had like the top of the top in that movie back then. But again, it was an original back then. It was a brand new thing, and I think cartoons were more popular back in the 90s, especially the ones like Bugs Bunny and stuff like that.
Tunes,
But that's the other thing that I would be upset if I was Giannis. Be like, you don't get to meet Bugs Bunny now, man. Come on.
Exactly. Come on. That's Bugs.
Jake Senholz, the Bugs Bunny lover, to my right, Malik Jackson, the biased Caps lover. I'm Alex Strofe. I like to yell a lot. 7 hours away from Trivia 5-0 right here on your only alternative. What you want?
Oh, just so y'all know, I just said that the Lightning were going to lose in the second round to the Maple Leafs. Just putting it out there. Putting it out there.
We both picked them to win. So.
Yeah, just putting it out there.
All right, that's it. I'm Alex. That's Jake. That's Malik. We'll see you next week.
Senholz on Sport.
Sports by Malik on Twitter.
I'm boring. Alex_Strofe on Twitter. You can find me there. That'll do it for Sports Beat. Today was, and still is, I guess, April 10th, 2019. Peace!
You just heard Sports Beat, a production of 90FM's Public Affairs on WWSP Stevens Point. Tune in next Wednesday for our next show at 6 o'clock from 90FM, your only alternative.
I'm leaving here tomorrow. I'm leaving for to miss the pain. I'm going towards that mountain
Where I can rest my head.
I'm not in it. I just want to be in it.